everyone. Alright, so which Igbo varieties did I settle on learning? Some of you who watched my earlier videos can probably guess, but I want to make just a short video here going over what my decision was and my reasoning behind those decisions. So yeah, as you know, there's two Igbo varieties that I want to learn. One is definitely set in stone. I'm 100% sure about. The other, I'm more like 85% sure about. But it's up from before. So yeah. So I want to go over what I settled on. All right. So obviously the one that you all probably knew already was Iquere. So Iquere is actually, it's not a dialect of Igbo, but it's in Igbo language, or Igboid language, to use a fancy linguistic term. Um, so yeah, it only shares around um, maybe like the mutual intelligibility between Iquere and the core Igbo dialects is around, it's in the 60 percentile range, I think. So it's not that high. It's definitely below what's considered what would be considered the same language. So yeah, anyway, Quere, it's a pretty easy one. 3 million speakers. It's native to Port Harcourt, the biggest city in southeastern Nigeria. It's in the Niger Delta, which I love that area, that region. With this, that's another story. Formerly, I was going to pick, cause yeah, my thinking was always to pick one like Igboid language, and to pick one core dialect of the, for lack of a better term, the core language. So I originally was thinking of Okba to serve as the my other Igboid language, um, which is also in River State up here. But it's just not that practical because it has 1 million speakers, and they're kind of more isolated. Um, but yeah, but I definitely like it. But you know, Iquere kind of just checked all the boxes for me in a lot of ways. So yeah, and Iquere, has, I mean, dialectology is still kind of being sorted out, but I think it has, like, on a like at the primary level, it has two main dialects, north and south. So the southern one would be the biggest one by far. So that's the one I want to focus on. Iquere dialects, I'm not sure how mutually intelligible they are to each other. I'm guessing from the little information that I've seen, it's like maybe in the 80 percentile range, but it might be in the 70s. But I definitely know that it's all part of the same language because they can definitely understand most. It's definitely over 70%. It doesn't go below 70%, I wouldn't think. At any rate, yeah. So I'm gonna focus on Iquere, which its autonym is see, Ikwan, Ikwanu, Ikwanu Ihuroha, Ikwanu Ihuroha. I'm not sure about the tone for that, so you might have to correct me, but I think that it's something like Ikwanu Ihuroha. Um, so Iquere is one. The only, there's one problem with Iquere is it doesn't have that much material out there. So that will be a challenge. Although I do plan to get find some native speakers to tutor me at least, so it won't be that bad. And also some linguistic projects in the works for Iquere in the future, hopefully. All right, and the second one that I'm only like 85% sure about, it's so I had to pick one of the core dialects. So I picked Ngwa, or It's all the name is Oku Ngwa. Yeah. So all right. So as you know, before I was leaning towards Mbaise, or basically a Were Igbo, because I have the course that I have, FSI course, is based on that dialect, and it's a very good course. But I don't know, for a lot of different reasons, I picked Ingwa instead because I like the sound of it better, and also it seems to have more in common with Echie, which is a dialect spoken in River State, kind of basically next door, right next to Ingwa, which I really do like Echie, but the problem is, it only has like maybe 800,000 speakers, maybe a million at most. And similarly with Ogba, it's not as practical because it's a little more remote, which I don't really have an issue with. But the whole point of my A language is I want a language that's more prominent. Where I can find speakers. Generally, that's the case, I should say. Um, but yeah, so um, yeah, what was I getting at? Yeah, so I liked Ingwa because it seems to have some more similarities with Echie. Um, Although on the downside, there isn't as much. There isn't a lot of learning materials for Ingwa. There are some linguistic papers out there that are kind of hard to access, similar, just like with Iquere. But with both groups are very online. They have a big online presence, so it'll be easy for me to find speakers of Ngwa. And there's a lot of YouTube. They have a lot of YouTube channels, in the language. So a lot of media. Um, so yeah, and Ngwa spoken in Abia State, mostly in the southern part of Abia State, centered around the city of Aba. Um, so so yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's the biggest Igbo subgroup with around 5 million members. For that reason, I think, my personal opinion is that instead of having this central Igbo thing, I think Ngwa should be the standard, the literary standard, just like you have a Kwapem. The Kwapem dialect serves that purpose for Chi, and the northwestern dialect serves that purpose for Yoruba. But I don't know. I digress. That's another. That's that topic merits another video on its own. So yeah. See what else can I say about Ngwa? Yeah, like the only reason it's at 85%, not 100%, is because like my certainty of it, that I want to learn it, is because there isn't that much material out there, so I have little to go off of. But from what I do find, and also from hearing, listening to native speakers, and the fact that it's the biggest Igbo clan, I think that's like the most logical choice for me. Um, so yeah, and I think it's a good balance to have these two with each other. Having one core dialect, especially the biggest core dialect, and then having a very you know important another Igbo language that's important in its own right. So yeah, I guess that's all. So if any of you have no speakers or are speakers of any of these two varieties, please get in contact with me, or if you know or how and where I can get my hand on learning materials. All right, I appreciate it. Let's see. I don't know how to say it in Ingwa, but in Ikwere, anu mekao anu mekao. Yeah, I'm not sure if I got that right, but I'm getting there. All right, guys.